They say betrayal tastes bitter. I disagree. To me, it tasted like a $400 bottle of French Bordeaux, swirled in crystal stemware, under the shimmer of chandeliers, just moments before I realized my wife was sleeping with my boss. There are nights you wait your whole life for. And then there are nights that make you wish you hadn't waited at all. That evening was one of the former, until it wasn't. It was the annual Covalent Capital Gala, hosted at the Westcott Grand Hotel downtown. An invite-only event for the top 5% of our firm. Custom tuxedos, curated menu by some chef who probably had a Netflix special, and a ballroom dripping in velvet, gold, and ambition. I earned that invitation. Every late night. Every missed weekend. Every deal I closed with less sleep than common sense, it all pointed to this moment. And I wanted to share it with someone who mattered. That someone was Emily. My wife. My high school sweetheart. The one person I believed had stayed real through everything. No filters, no performance, just her. Grounded. Elegant. Sharp as a scalpel, and just as dangerous if you crossed her. She wore navy blue that night. Silk. Fitted like it was made for her, which it was. She turned heads. But more than that, she held presence. When Emily entered a room, you noticed. And apparently, so did Russell Kane. My boss. CEO of Covalent Capital. 45, charming in that slick, dad-at-the-gym way. Always tanned. Always talking. The kind of guy who could sell umbrellas in the desert and make you think it was your idea to buy one. He was also married. Of course. I first spotted him when we entered the gala. He broke away from a crowd of execs like Moses parting the Red Sea, grinning like he had a secret. The moment his eyes met Emily's, I felt something crawl beneath my skin. "Damn, Daniel," he said, clapping me on the back. "You really do overachieve. Emily, you look unbelievable." It was a compliment, technically. But something in the way he held her hand just a second too long, it stuck with me. I told myself I was being paranoid. That's what trust does. It gives benefit where suspicion should sit. But then came the dancing. The toasts. The subtle shift. Emily excused herself twice to take calls. Both times, Russell disappeared minutes after. When they returned, they came separately. No explanation. Just, casual glances, like they had nothing to hide. Except they did. It was after the fourth toast, just after the foie gras and before the wagyu, that I excused myself. I needed a break. The air in that room had grown heavy. That's when I saw it. Through the glass balcony doors, down the hallway near the elevator bank, I caught a reflection. Her reflection. Emily. Leaning too close. Laughing in a way that looked staged. And Russell, his hand lightly grazing her back. Then lower. I didn't barge in. I didn't cause a scene. I just watched. I watched until she pulled away and straightened her dress. I watched her adjust her smile before walking back toward the ballroom like nothing happened. And in that moment, something inside me went quiet. Not broken. Not yet. Just, quiet. The car ride home was silent. Emily sat beside me, legs crossed, scrolling through photos on her phone from the gala. I drove with one hand on the wheel, the other clenched around a knot in my chest that wouldn't let go. She glanced at me. "You okay?" I nodded. "Just tired." That was true. But not in the usual way. This wasn't the kind of tired that goes away with sleep. It was the kind that settles into your bones when something you believed in starts to rot. When we got home, she went straight to the bathroom to take off her makeup. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the bottle of wine we'd saved for special nights. I didn't open it. Somehow, it didn't feel like a night worth toasting anymore. Upstairs, I heard the sound of water running. The soft creak of drawers. Her routine was always the same. Predictable. That was the problem. Everything about her had become too perfect. Too curated. Too polished. Like a politician rehearsing a speech in the mirror. I laid in bed pretending to sleep when she came in. She crawled in beside me and placed a soft hand on my chest. I didn't react. I couldn't. That hand, just hours ago, had been pressed against Russell Kane's back. Maybe more. I didn't know the full picture yet, but the edges were forming. The next morning, I skipped breakfast. I told her I had an early meeting. That was a lie. My calendar was clear. Instead, I went to see someone. His name was Cal Mason. Private security consultant. Discreet, quiet, and expensive. The kind of guy whose business was built entirely on knowing things other people didn't want known. "You're not the first guy to walk in here with this look," he said, sliding me a cup of bitter coffee. "What look is that?" "The look of a man who wants the truth, but only if it's not going to kill him." I looked him straight in the eye. "I want everything." He nodded once. "Phones. Email. GPS hotel records. We'll start small. If there's something there, I'll find it." I left his office with a manila folder of consent forms and an invoice that made my stomach tighten. But it didn't matter. I wasn't about to be the last guy to know his wife was someone else entirely. Over the next week, I played the part of the doting husband. Smiles. Dinners. Even a planned weekend getaway to Asheville that Emily suggested herself. Normally, I would have taken that as a sweet gesture. This time, it felt like a cleanup job. Russell didn't show up in conversation. Not once. But his presence was everywhere. In the text message she deleted before showing me her phone screen. In the way she locked her laptop when stepping away from it, something she'd never done before. In the change in her perfume. Slight. Subtle. But different. She didn't notice the new app on her phone, installed by Cal, masked as a fitness tracker. She didn't notice the email alerts I started getting each night at 10:42 p.m., right when she said she was reading. And on the fourth night, I got what I needed. The message was short. No name, no emojis. Just. Missed last night. Same place tomorrow. Same place. It always comes down to that, familiar ground. They get lazy when they think you're blind. The location Cal tracked matched a private suite at the Harborview Hotel downtown. Same one the company uses for executive retreats. I'd been there before. So had she. I stared at the email for a long time, feeling a strange, steady calm. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was calculating. That weekend, Emily packed a small bag. Alicia invited me to a spa day and wine tasting outside the city. "I'll be back Sunday afternoon," she said casually, like she was telling me the weather. I nodded. "You deserve a break." She smiled and kissed me on the cheek. I didn't flinch. I watched her drive off. And then I opened the lockbox in my office drawer, pulled out the flash drive Cal had delivered earlier that week, and plugged it into my laptop. It was all there. Photos. GPS logs. Time-stamped screenshots. And a video. I didn't watch it. I didn't need to. The evidence wasn't for me anymore. It was for the world. I always thought of revenge as something hot. Something furious. Loud. A shouting match in a parking lot or a broken dish across a kitchen floor. Turns out, real revenge. It's cold. Quiet. It's the slow boil of a kettle that only whistles when you're ready to pour. And I was ready. The flash drive sat on the desk for a full hour before I moved. Just stared at it. My hands didn't tremble, which surprised me. I thought I'd be shaking, sweating, spiraling. But I wasn't. I was focused. It's funny how betrayal shifts something in your brain. You start noticing the little cracks that were always there. Like how Emily used to turn her phone face down on the table, claiming it was out of habit. Or how she suddenly became interested in Russell Kane's speeches, quoting him like a disciple. Looking back, it wasn't subtle. I just didn't want to see it. I called Cal the next morning. I need everything formatted. Documents, timelines, visuals. Keep it professional, legal level clean. You got it, he said. What's the endgame? Exposure, I replied. Maximum damage. No splash. He chuckled. Silent detonation. My favorite. He promised I'd have the full digital packet by Friday. That gave me 5 days. 5 days to build a theater. And I knew exactly where the curtains would rise. Our company's quarterly strategy summit was coming up. Russell's favorite stage. He treated it like a TED Talk and a press release wrapped in one. Big lights, big screen, big speeches about vision and legacy. Every major partner would be there. Investors. Department heads. His ego's favorite audience. I emailed the event coordinator, Melissa, a meticulous, overworked assistant who ran on caffeine and panic, and asked if I could help with the intro reel. Something light. Team-building clips. A look back at our wins, I pitched. She was grateful. That was mistake number 1. At home, I played it cool. Dinners. Conversations. I even left little notes in her bag like I used to years ago. Part of me hated pretending. The other part, the part she broke, knew I was writing her final chapter. And every smile I faked was just ink on the last page. Emily still left on Thursday nights. Book club, she claimed. The irony wasn't lost on me. Friday came fast. Cal dropped off the final cut on a labeled hard drive. I watched it once. It opened with standard footage. Company events. Smiling faces. Russell shaking hands like a politician. All normal. Then it cut. Still footage. Security camera. Time-stamped. A hallway outside a hotel suite. Emily. Russell. A kiss that wasn't friendly. A keycard swipe. A door closing. Cut again. Emails. Text messages. Calendar logs matching GPS data. Her voice on a recording, he thinks I'm in Napa with Alicia. He has no idea. Cal had kept the footage clean, no explicit content, just implication and time-stamped truth. Enough to make deniability a joke. I dropped the file into a presentation deck. Buried it behind the real intro reel. Slide 43. It would autoplay. Sunday night, Emily came home glowing. The vineyards were perfect, she said, placing a souvenir bottle on the counter. You'd love it there. I bet I would, I thought. She slid her arms around me from behind, kissed my neck like nothing had changed. And I let her. Because by this time tomorrow, everything would. If Russell Kane had a church, the Covalent Strategy Summit was his Sunday sermon. The venue? A luxury conference hall in Midtown Manhattan, glass walls, mahogany panels, and staff so polished they practically bowed when you asked for coffee. The morning kicked off like clockwork. Pastries no one touched. Coffee strong enough to keep tired executives upright. Branded banners on every wall. A massive LED screen glowing with the firm's slogan. Vision. Velocity. Victory. Appropriate, I thought. Because today, there would be blood in the water. I wore the same navy suit I'd worn to last year's summit, back when I believed in this company, and in my marriage. Funny how quickly threads unravel. Russell spotted me near the registration table, flashing that politician grin. "Daniel," he said, voice smooth like jazz in an elevator. "Glad you could make it. Big year ahead." I nodded, measured. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." He clapped me on the shoulder like we were war buddies. That was the last time he'd ever touch me. The summit opened with standard fanfare. Welcome notes. Light jokes. Warm applause. Then came Russell's grand entrance, music, spotlight, everything short of smoke machines. He opened with a rehearsed story about closing a multi-million-dollar deal from a ski lodge in Aspen. "Leadership," he said, "is about always staying connected. Even on the slopes." Everyone laughed. They wouldn't be laughing long. I waited until 9:32 a.m. That was the moment Melissa, sweet, overworked Melissa, clicked into the presentation deck I had personally polished for Russell's recap speech. She smiled as the screen came to life. Slide 1. Team building photos. Applause. Slide 10. Volunteer events. Smiles. Slide 20. Deal closings. Champagne toasts. Then came slide 43. It looked like any other file. But it wasn't. The footage rolled. At first, a few heads tilted in confusion. Still hallway footage. Time stamps. Then a face. Emily. Then Russell. The room shifted. People sat up straighter. You could feel it, the tightening in the air. The unspoken wait, what is this? Then the kiss. The door. The timestamp. Then emails. Messages. Logs. Her voice. His name. And finally, a full-screen slide with 2 simple words. Trust broken. No commentary. No narration. Just silence. Russell stood frozen, clicker still in his hand. The screen behind him might as well have been a guillotine. Someone in the second row gasped. Someone else, Brett from operations, let out a slow, stunned whistle. Russell finally found his voice. "Okay, let's move on." Melissa clicked furiously. But I had locked the controls. It kept playing. Every click she made just restarted the loop. He turned. "What is this?" I stood up from the back row. "That, Russell," I said calmly, "is a highlight reel. Of all your extracurricular activity with my wife." He turned red, then white. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. People weren't just watching. They were recording. Phones raised like torches in the dark. Executives who once hung on his every word now stared with disbelief, and some with pleasure. I kept walking down the aisle. My voice low, firm, calm. "You embarrassed me in my house. In my marriage. And now, I've returned the favor, in yours." I walked out before the video ended. Not because I couldn't watch, but because I didn't need to. I'd already seen what I needed. And now. So had everyone else. I got in my car, started the engine, and smiled for the first time in weeks. My phone buzzed, 3 missed calls from Emily. 4 from Russell. I didn't answer either. They'd speak soon enough. Just not to me. I turned my phone off before I even hit the Lincoln Tunnel. I didn't want to hear excuses. I didn't need to hear apologies. I just needed quiet. And to let the machine work. Because when you drop a bomb like that, you don't stick around to pick up the debris. You let the walls cave in on their own. By Monday, Covalent Capital was in a state of controlled panic. An emergency board meeting had been called. PR was spinning like a top. Unfounded personal allegations, was the official line. Except there was nothing unfounded about timestamped security footage. And no denying the dozens of phones that recorded Russell's expression as his private shame became a public scandal. By noon, the press had it. By Tuesday, clients were pulling meetings. By Wednesday, Russell Kane was stepping down to focus on his personal life. Translation. He'd been forced out before lunch. As for Emily, she came home the night of the summit in a panic, practically kicking the front door open. Daniel. What the hell did you do? I was sitting on the back porch, sipping a whiskey I'd been saving for years. Funny thing, I used to imagine drinking it to celebrate our anniversary. Now I was celebrating something else, clarity. You watched it? I asked without turning around. Her voice cracked. You humiliated me. No, I said, standing up slowly. You did that yourself. I just brought a mirror. She stepped forward, eyes wide, desperate. Please, we need to talk. I looked her in the eye for the first time in weeks. We will. With lawyers present. The divorce was swift. Thanks to Cal's airtight documentation, my lawyer barely had to speak. The evidence spoke louder than any accusation could. Emily tried to play the remorse card, claimed she was confused, manipulated, that it was just emotional at first. But the footage said otherwise. She wanted to negotiate quietly. I declined. I let the full documentation get filed with the court. Let it become part of the public record. Her parents found out. So did her boss at the nonprofit where she sat on the board. The optics weren't great for a woman who ran fundraising campaigns for integrity in business. She resigned a week later. I kept the house. She moved into a downtown apartment. The car went with me. So did the dog. She got the espresso machine. I let her have it. That thing was temperamental anyway, like her, you had to baby it just to get something decent out of it. The whispers started early. Mutual friends reached out, most of them apologizing with wide-eyed shock. We had no idea, some said. I believed a few of them. The rest I let fade into silence. I wasn't rebuilding with people who sat at my table and watched me get poisoned. Strangely, the hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was the quiet after. Mornings with just the sound of the fridge. Evenings without the sound of her heels on the tile. At first, it felt like a loss. But slowly, it started to feel like peace. 2 weeks later, I got an email from a senior partner at another firm. Saw what happened at Covalent. Impressed by your composure. We'd like to talk. Funny thing about burning bridges, sometimes it lights the path to better places. Starting over is quieter than you think. There's no thunderclap, no swelling music. No applause for choosing not to burn your own life down in the process. It's just a man, standing in the stillness of what's left. And deciding what comes next. The offer came 3 days after the ink dried on the divorce papers. A boutique advisory firm in Boston. Smaller than Covalent, but surgical in how they operated. Their founder had built the company from a single desk in a storage unit. Now they handled billion-dollar portfolios, and he'd apparently been following the Covalent fallout with interest. Said he admired how I handled myself. What he really meant was that I weaponized the truth with restraint. Didn't lash out. Didn't post rants. Didn't disappear. Just calmly burned the rot out of my life and moved forward. I didn't say yes right away. I didn't say no either. Instead, I took a week for myself. First time in years I gave myself that kind of space. No schedule. No expectations. I drove up the coast to Maine. Stayed in a small rental cabin by the ocean, alone. Just me, a bottle of bourbon I didn't finish, and a notebook I hadn't opened in years. I thought about everything I'd built, and everything I'd let slide. The signs. The compromises. The moments I chose silence over instinct. Not blaming myself. Just taking inventory. Truth is, being betrayed doesn't make you a fool. Staying blind to it does. I came back clearer. Shaved the beard I'd grown over those hollow months. Bought a new suit that actually fit. Hired a professional to reorganize my home office, turned it from a memory museum into a war room. Then I said yes to the new job. Not because I needed the money. But because I wanted the work to mean something again. To prove to myself that I still had the edge. That betrayal hadn't dulled me, it had sharpened me. Emily tried reaching out a few times. Once through email. Once through a mutual friend. Both messages danced around the same theme: closure, understanding, let's talk one last time. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty. Out of peace. When a bridge is made of lies, you don't cross it twice. Russell. Last I heard, he was living in Scottsdale, trying to rebrand himself as a leadership consultant. His LinkedIn went dark for a while, then came back with buzzwords and empty smiles. I'm sure someone, somewhere, still buys what he's selling. Just not anyone who matters. Funny thing happened once the dust settled. I started getting attention, not the kind I expected. Not pity. Not even admiration. Just quiet respect. A nod from men I barely knew in the firm, from clients who remembered how I held the line when the company cracked in half. Even got invited to speak at a leadership summit this fall. Topic: integrity under pressure. Yeah. I think I've got something to say. There's a quote I keep taped to the wall above my desk now. It's not fancy. Just a line I scribbled in the cabin up north. When everything burns down, build something the fire can't touch. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Some endings don't come with fireworks. They come with keys dropped on a counter. A final envelope slid across a table. A door closing, softly, finally, for good. The last time I saw Emily, it wasn't in court. It wasn't in some shouting match or teary, drawn-out scene. No dramatic goodbye. It was Tuesday afternoon, at the bank. She was closing her name off the joint account. I was there to transfer the last of what we'd agreed on in the divorce. She wore sunglasses indoors, the kind people wear when they've been crying or hiding. I walked in. Sat down across from her. Didn't say a word. She pulled her glasses off slowly. Her eyes were puffy. Makeup smudged. I never thought it would end like this, she said. I looked at her, really looked. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel hurt. Or angry. Or tempted. I just felt done. You ended it, Emily, I said quietly. I just made it official. She nodded. No defense this time. No manipulation. Just silence. We signed the forms. The teller nodded politely. And that was it. I left first. I didn't look back. Later that week, I packed up the last of her things from the guest room. A few old books. A sweater I hadn't seen her wear in years. A photo of us from Lake Tahoe that used to sit by the bed. I thought about throwing it away. But I didn't. I boxed it up, labeled it with her name, and left it by the door. Let someone else decide what it's worth. Life didn't snap back like a rubber band. There was no return to normal. Because there was no normal left. Only new. A new routine. New job. New silence in the house, one that didn't feel empty anymore, just clean. I started running again. Hit the gym 4 times a week. Found myself waking up before the alarm. Eating better. Laughing, even, when something actually deserved it. And for the first time in years, I looked in the mirror and didn't see a man holding everything together. I saw a man standing on his own. A few months later, I got an email from Alicia. The real Alicia, Emily's friend she'd falsely claimed to be visiting during her spa weekend. She kept it brief. Hey. Just wanted to say. I didn't know. If I had, I wouldn't have let her use my name. I'm sorry you went through that. I replied. It's in the past. Hope you're doing well. And I meant it. That part of my life was over. No need to carry ashes. The new firm in Boston offered me equity 6 months in. Said they'd never seen someone step in and steady a ship so fast. I took the offer. Not because I needed the title. Because I'd earned it. Started mentoring a few younger guys. Not about finances, about life. About keeping your eyes open. About not mistaking comfort for trust. About building something inside yourself that no one else can corrupt. And yes, I started dating again. Slow. Quiet. No expectations. I didn't look for someone to fix me. I was already whole. The last item I removed from the house was a framed photo of Emily and me from our wedding. I looked at it one last time. We looked happy. Maybe we were. Maybe we just believed we were. Either way, that version of us no longer existed. I slipped the photo out of the frame, folded it, and dropped it into the fireplace. No flames. Just a soft curl of smoke, and the faintest scent of closure. This isn't a story about a man who was broken. It's a story about a man who refused to stay that way. She betrayed me. He betrayed me. But they didn't win. Because in the end, I walked away with something they'll never touch. My name. My dignity. And a future of my own making.